I'm here with Hans Niemann, who just won the game against Dominguez. Congratulations, Hans. First of all, how does it feel to win against such a strong opponent?
Yeah, it feels great. In the last year's championship, we played in the last round, and he barely escaped. It was so I was craving a victory. So it's a very nice game. I really liked the attacking style. Okay, I didn't sacrifice any pieces, but there were moments where I could have sacrificed like 3 pawns, but she didn't go for it. So there were some invisible sacrifices, and very happy with my creativity.
Yes, today definitely it was about creativity, which started right in the opening. I really like this idea with G4, G5. So how did you feel about it during the game? How scared were you to go, to move pawns from your king?
Yeah, obviously after Bishop A4, I know Bishop takes C4, D4, and there was like a game. I think it's Tabadova against Latasa and like some Spanish league, and I remember it being fine, but I didn't remember knight h5. And okay, knight h5, if you get the queen to f6 and the knight to f4, then so I thought that it must be some concrete like solution to punish the move, because if I don't really if I let him develop and get a bind on the dark squares, then my bishop, or my light squared bishop, is just very stupid. So I felt like it was a very, let's say, to sort of keep the balance, it was a good move, good idea. And of course it was a bit touch and go, but at some point, but once I consolidated, okay, the game was just over. Because his pieces were just stuck, like the knight on h7, knight on g6 were just
absolutely
stuck, and the queen was also in the middle, and this bishop on c5 is just, he has to come back. Because it's kind of funny in the Italians, like you see this bishop and you think it's a good piece, but then you realize that if I can just play around it, I'm just like sort of maneuvering around the bishop, and the bishop is just, so he had to play, play c6, bishop, he had spent like 3 moves just to bring the bishop to a half decent square. So it was a very nice, I think, okay, it looked like an attacking game, but I think in reality there were a lot more positional nuances. Of course the attack was the main thing, but there was just, like at some moment when I sacrificed the pawn with c5 to open up the position, this is a very thematic positional sacrifice.
So you feel really joy winning such kind of games, right?
Yeah, this is, well,
it seems like you're
yesterday was sort of, obviously when you play classical with black, it's a bit boring sometimes. So yesterday was, okay, my opponent forced a draw, there's nothing I can do, but this is like a favorite game I've played in a long time. I think the variations that didn't even show up in the game were even more interesting. Like at some moment, my pawn on c4 is hanging, and if he takes it, then I would sacrifice the e4 pawn, and then just to open up the diagonal, and then I would sacrifice perhaps the c4 pawn. So I would sack like the e, d, and c pawns for some initiative and check. So, okay. Yeah. It was a very creative game, and it's nice. It's very rare to get such an interesting attacking game with so much imbalance against such a well-prepared opponent, right? Because
absolutely, no. Linier is famous to be well prepared.
Yeah,
yes.
So especially he plays a lot of dynamic chess, but he's more, I guess, very positional and sound. So to even get such an imbalanced position is, I guess, I'm lucky to be making up novelties at the board. I don't know if it's a novelty, but or maybe it's a known move that I just found.
We'll check it for sure. I want to ask you last question, like about your first game against Fabiano.
Yeah.
Like it seems like, I'm sure you analyzed it after, and what did you feel about it? Like, did you feel that you missed some chances, and like how did it feel?
Yeah, he was quite provocative in the opening, and obviously there was this one moment with h4. I understood that my position was much better from the opening. Especially when he castled kingside, the structure and my pieces. I should have had some way to capitalize. Knight e5 was a bit hasty, maybe a bit nerves, because obviously h4, the only difficult thing to see after h4 is that you're trapping the queen with like another knight sacrifice. So I thought knight e5 was just winning, so I made the mistake. But in general, I think I put a lot of pressure, and it's certainly an improvement from our past games.
For sure. Thank you so much, Hans, and looking forward for your next games in the next rounds. All the best of luck for you, and we'll come back to the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasiya. Congratulations, Hans.